The person whose patent describes how nearly every ATM on Earth still works was paid £10 for it, not 10,000, not a royalty on each of the machines that followed. £10 handed over as a bonus by his employer, and then the credit for his invention went to someone else entirely. The story of who invented the cash machine is a story about how invention, fame, and money can land on three different people, and how the man with the strongest claim to the idea walked away with almost nothing. The confusion starts with the fact that there is no single undisputed inventor of the ATM. There are at least 4 men with a claim, scattered across 2 continents in most of a decade, and the one history remembers best is not the one who patented the system we actually use. Untangling them is the only honest way to tell this. Begin with the earliest. In 1960, an Armenian-American inventor named Simjian built a machine called the Bankograph. Simjian was prolific, holding patents on everything from an army flight simulator to a self-focusing camera to an exercise bicycle. But the Bankograph had a fundamental limitation. It did not give out cash. It only accepted deposits, taking in cash and checks and photographing each one with an internal microfilm camera, so the customer had a receipt. Simjian filed his patent in June of 1960, and it was granted in 1963. The Citibank of New York installed the machine in 1961, and it was pulled out after about 6 months. By Simjian's own later account, almost nobody used it except people who wanted to avoid talking to a teller, and there were not enough of them to justify the machine. The first cash machine could not even dispense cash, and the public ignored it. The machine that worked the way modern ones do came from a Scottish engineer named James Goodfellow. Born in Paisley in 1937, he was a 28-year-old development engineer at Kelvin Hughes, a subsidiary of Smith's Industries. When he was handed a problem in 1965, banks closed on weekends, but employers were increasingly paying wages straight into bank accounts, which left working people cut off from their own money when the doors were locked. Someone needed to build a machine that could safely hand out cash when no human was there to check who you were. Goodfellow's solution is the one you still use. He paired a machine-readable encrypted card with a numeric keypad for a personal identification number. The card identified the account, the PIN proved you were allowed to use it, and only when the two matched would the machine release the money. He worked with Chubb Lock and Safe Company, which built the physical safe and dispenser, while he designed the electronics. He filed his patent with a priority date of May 2nd, 1966. That patent and its American counterpart still describe the basic function of an ATM decades later. Card plus PIN. It is the entire foundation of the system. For all of that, Goodfellow received a £10 bonus from his employer. The patent named him as the inventor, alongside his company's general manager. The machines his design produced, built by Chubb, were installed at Westminster Bank and rolled out across Britain in the late 1960s and early 1970s. And then the public credit for inventing the ATM went somewhere else. It went to John Shepherd-Barron. He worked for the printing firm De La Rue, and his version reached the public first. On June 27, 1967, the first cash machine was installed at a Barclays branch in Enfield in North London, and the comedy actor Reg Varney was publicized as the first person to use it. Shepherd-Barron said the idea came to him in the bag, inspired by a chocolate bar vending machine. Replaced the chocolate, but his machine was a different animal from Goodfellow's. It used no plastic card. Instead, it took cheques impregnated with carbon-14, a mildly radioactive substance which the machine detected and matched against the number the customer entered. The system was called DAX, the De La Rue automatic cash system. The famous detail attached to Shepherd-Barron is he said he first planned a 6-digit code based on his army number, but his wife Caroline told him she could only remember 4 digits, so 4 became the standard. It is a charming story, and it is worth noting that the card and PIN concept is separately credited to Goodfellow's patent, so the true origin of the personal identification number is itself contested. What is not contested is the financial outcome for Shepherd-Barron. He never patented his invention. He made no money from it. Decades later, in 2004, he was awarded an OBE for services to banking. About 40 years after the machine appeared, recognition came, payment never did. So the two men most central to the British cash machine make a strange pair. One patented the system the world adopted and got £10. The other got the fame and the medal and got nothing. Goodfellow did not stay silent about it. The misattribution ran for years, and around the time Shepherd-Barron was being honored, Goodfellow pointed out the obvious. He held the earlier patent. His design worked the way real ATMs work. Of his rival's radioactive check machine, he remarked that Shepherd-Barron had invented a radioactive device to withdraw money. The dig carried a real argument inside it. The machine people credit as the first is not the machine that survived. Across the Atlantic, the story picks up a fourth claimant, Don Wetzel, a Dallas engineer and former professional baseball player, was a vice president at Docutel, a company that made automated baggage handling equipment. Working with 2 colleagues, Tom Barnes and George Chastain, he developed the first American ATM, beginning around 1968, with a working prototype the following year. Development cost roughly $5 million. Wetzel's machine introduced the piece that connects most directly to the present: plastic cards with magnetic strips, the kind still in wallets today. The first was installed at a chemical bank branch on Long Island on September 2nd, 1969. The bank's advertising made the promise plainly, that it would open and never close again. The Smithsonian's National Museum of American History credits Docutel as the ATM's inventor, though the industry more precisely calls it the first modern magnetic stripe machine. Even Wetzel's machine met resistance from bankers, and that resistance was the real obstacle for all of them. The cash machine was not embraced on site. Simjian's was removed for lack of use. Wetzel's faced skepticism from the banks themselves. American consumers took years to trust handing their card to a wall. By 1970, dozens of U.S. banks had adopted the machines and were running heavy advertising to coax people into using them. The turning point came in 1977, when the chairman of Citibank spent more than $100 million installing ATMs across New York City. A blizzard that winter, which kept people out of branches and pushed them toward the machines, helped finish the job of winning them over. There are now well over 1 million ATMs in the world, including 2 in Antarctica. Every one of them runs on the principle Goodfellow patented, a card and a number, checked against each other before the cash comes out. He went on to win technical achievement awards later in his career and was eventually given his own OBE, years after Shepherd-Barron received the one for the invention people had assigned to the wrong man. Set the 4 of them side by side and the lesson is not about who was first. Simjian was first, and his machine failed. Shepherd-Barron was first to the public, and his radioactive design was a dead end that earned him fame and no money. Wetzel built the American version and gave it the magnetic stripe. And Goodfellow, who designed the actual system the entire world would come to depend on, was paid £10 and watched his name get left out of the story for decades. The cash machine made a great deal of money for a great many people. Almost none of it ever reached the man whose patent it was built on.